All right, welcome back to the Bounce Back God's Way Challenge. I'm Gina Paris, and if you're watching the replay, I absolutely welcome you. You are going to want to fully engage, pay attention to what our guests are sharing today, and then go live or make a post. Tell us what is your biggest takeaway from what you're learning. And so today, my first guest is my friend Deb. And let me tell you, she is a controller. I always used to say that wrong. I thought it was comptroller. But she was trained by General Motors how to run a company. And at 26 years old, she took her first company under her wings and increased it by millions of dollars, from $15 million to $18 million in just 9 short months, by some of the techniques she'll share with us, because she actually has a special heart and a grace to help us turn business around by knowing what numbers to follow. And a lot of us very creative souls don't love numbers. And so I'm excited to have you share, Deb. Is there anything else I need to brag about you on? I kind of took some notes, but I think suffice it to say, I think she's amazing. Deb, tell us a little bit, and let's welcome our viewers. Hey, if you are viewing, go ahead and in the comments, tell us where you're viewing from, and we welcome you. And Deb, tell us a little bit more.
Gina, thank you. Now, I think you're wonderful. So,
I
was trained by General Motors, but then I had the choice of staying in Michigan or running to California, where my best friend was. And she was working for Apple Computer in the early 90s. And I saw her bonus checks, and I looked at the automotive industry growing at 3% a year. And I went, I want my sunshine. So I left. So I spent the last 20 years working with small business owners.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. I'll tell you what, running a business, and I teach this in my personal finance class, it can be the most exhilarating thing in the world. It can be the most horrendous thing in the world. You will have ups and downs. That's just the way it goes. But it'll give you a freedom like you've never had. But also, it's one of the few ways that you could exponentially grow your wealth. If you have a product, you can just sell more product and sell more product. When we're service-based industries, we still have a time limit. If you're doing one-on-ones, you only have so many hours in the day, right? So sometimes as a coach and stuff, you can be kind of a glorified employee to some extent. Like you're more limited. But I think with the invention of online courses and things like that, that's allowed service-based businesses to grow a lot more.
Yeah, well, you have a secret weapon with your clients. So let's talk about that, and we'll touch on that.
Okay, Can I tell you a story first?
Absolutely.
Because no matter how good you are, and the one thing I want to use this guy as an example too, because he's in the service business, but he's in the attorney CPA category, right? So this guy's really smart. He's very good at what he does, right? But he hates numbers. He hates math, and he hates accounting, and that's what he has me for. But I met him in mid-2014. Nicest guy in the world, lovely person. So was his wife and his 3 kids. So 2015, I had just met him. I was cleaning up his trust account and doing different things. I hadn't taken over his entire accounting system yet. And he was the kind of guy, like most small businesses, they had cash flow problems. And every time there was payroll, they were running, struggling to get money in the door and call people and collect. And that's common for brick and mortar businesses. So 2015 was just a disaster. His son collapsed on the basketball court, needed emergency heart surgery. He is 55. Both his dad and his grandpa died by the age of 60 via a heart attack. So he's panicking. He's worried about his son. His wife is scared. Her son's sick. Her husband's starting to get sick. He's starting to have heart problems. And I'm not laughing about this. It all ends well. It was a disastrous year. They went about $250,000 in debt, right?
Wow.
At the end of the year, we had a financial meeting and talk about the company and their personal lives and how they're doing, because as much as I am a controller for the business, some of them I am also the controller for the personal lives, right? We're sitting in the meeting, and I've got the wife on this side and the husband on this side, and I can't even look at him because we're going over the numbers in the company, and the wife just starts, she's having a meltdown. And she just starts yelling and screaming at him, everything he's done wrong for the last 20 years. And I'm sitting there going, help, help, like, I didn't really sign up for this. But in that moment, I realized, I'm like, she's not a bad person. She's a wonderful person, but she was panicking and she was operating out of fear, not operating out of love. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, but the reality is I'm sitting there going, oh boy, I'm a financial person. And at that moment I realized, like, I'm not dealing with just numbers. I'm not dealing with just businesses. I'm dealing with human beings, and this is their life and their business. And for a lot of small businesses, the owner, that is their life, Right. It's not their life because you got your family, but your entire livelihood is wrapped up around there. And at the end of the meeting, I walked the wife to the car. I tried to calm her down. I walked her to the car, and she's like, can you save this business? Can it survive? And I said, just give me 6 months. In the back of my mind, I'm going, I need 12. I need 12. And I'm like, and she was in such panic. I'm like, give us 6 months. Just give us 6 months. And I went and I talked to the husband. I'm like, we got 6 months. We got to go. But I just started analyzing. And too many people don't look at their numbers and don't pay attention. And I did an overhead study. He'd never had that. He didn't know how much he needed to make every month to cover the bills, which sounds crazy, but it's true. He didn't know. And then I started looking at his billable hours and his collections, and I'm just like, I just started beating him up. And I'm like, get that website up, fix it up, get out there, meet people. That's what you got to do, because in his profession, it's word of mouth, right? Mm-hmm. Even as a coach, you're going to get a lot of referrals. Anyway, that was 2015. 2016, did 1.2 million. He'd never done more than 750 grand. Did 1 million. 1.2. He's got employees and rent to pay, right? It's not like he made all that. Yeah. For the last 4 years, he's done 7 figures a year, every year. His take-home pay went from 100 grand to 380. So his wife,
It is by looking at his numbers and having a plan. Yeah. To meet the numbers. So, what are some of the mistakes that solopreneurs, a lot of us in this group are solopreneurs, or, service-based, or things like you said, coaches, consultants, speakers. What are some of the mistakes we make, and what numbers do we need to look at?
Yeah, good question. Really good question. First of all, mistake number one, because his business I was able to turn around, I've seen a lot of companies go bankrupt. Oh. Create a business that you love. Create a business that you love. People are like, oh, I don't know what to do. Well, God gave you hints. Like, you have strengths, you have talents. So what are those talents, and how can you parlay that into a business? If you're a good artist, I've seen your paintings, right? You can sell those paintings, that you don't have to make 7 figures a year. You might only make 6, you might only make 5, but you know what? If it's an extra 40 grand a year to help out your family, that's enough for some people. That's huge.
Or sometimes, even instead of making them totally different silos, like, how can I connect using creativity and art in peak performance and helping people, achieve their goals? And so for some of our listeners, that's a helpful thing too. And what can set you apart is integrating instead of fragmenting the things that you love.
It's funny. I have that you just like hit the nail on the head, because that's something I've struggled with for the last 3 years. And it's like, I've got my brick and mortar business, but I'm trying to launch my classes online, but I got personal finance and the business side, right? And I was trying to figure out how to bring those together. But I'm also, like you, a cheerleader, and bring that into, like, the Dean Graziosi thing, the empowerment, cheerleading, the personal development side into it. Right. And I think the thing is, sometimes in our mind, we segregate those things and we put them in boxes. Yeah. And I think we just need to knock those boxes down. Just knock them down, because I got a doctor, right? And she's, I'm working with her now, and she's a university professor, right? Does not make a whole lot of money, has student loans at Yang. She's an incredible photographer. Just an incredible photographer. She specializes in women's health, but I'm like, take your photography. I'm going to build a following on Instagram, put that out there, and then tie your women's health thing into it. Like, you can have both. You can figure out, not only do you need to figure out how to integrate them, you should integrate them. Don't keep them separate, because that's what's going to make you you. that's what's going to make people want to work with you, not with somebody else.
Yeah, even if, so like Stacy is asking, she says, I love this. How do I integrate? I know Deb was only on point number 1 or 2, but part of it is just let people know it's part of your personality. Like if you were a Star Trek fan, I don't know, are women Star Trek fans? I don't know, but like people connect even if it's your hobby. So maybe you don't have to try to monetize it. There's 2 schools of thought. One is that all peak performers have a hobby that's totally separate from their work to really take them away. So in the art and creative world, Winston Churchill was an artist. He became an artist, an incredible painter. And he said it was the only way to really rest your brain is to make it do something totally separate. So it can be something that you're doing that you're not trying to monetize it, but you share it and you can talk about it. That's one way. And the other way is see how can you integrate it, in workshops or whatever, where you're combining those things that you love to set yourself apart. So those are things that you kind of ruminate on. But the thing is, let people see the other side of you than just that professional side. Let them see you paint. Let them see you garden. Let them see you whatever. People like to do business with those they know, like, and trust. When they see your creative other side, or if your business is all art, let them see a different side of you too. So that kind of thing, it all is going to boil down to relationship and how people feel like they know you.
Yeah. Like, do you know who Amy Porterfield is?
Yeah, Amy.
She teaches classes online. She teaches you how to create a course online and how to do webinars, right?
Right.
She's had her most popular blog posts and podcasts are when she brings her dog on.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Because people want to see you're human, and like especially me, because I'm technical and I'll get into all the numbers and the math stuff. I leave the other stuff behind, but people want to see that,
Yeah, they want to see it. So Stace, if you have your hands in multiple businesses, find out what it means. Yeah, how do you focus? If they're totally separate, to ask what does integrating look like, and then what does essentialism look like when you take away everything that's not essential.
Yeah.
So that was good, Deb. That was all under do a business you love.
If you can't bring them together yet, because like if I'm doing someone's accounting system, they don't want to see pretty pictures, right?
Right.
I worked for one lady, she was a designer, and I was doing her payroll, right? I went in and collected the time cards, and one lady had decorated her time card and shown it with buttons and ribbon and
oh my gosh,
it was so gorgeous. I'm like, I can't read the numbers. Like, there's no number. I'm like, I can't read your numbers. Like, this is gorgeous. It's a work of art, but I don't need it on the time card. So it does really depend on what you're selling. Like you could do that. I set up accounting systems. I can do that, but nobody wants to see my cat in their accounting system.
Oh, that's so good. Right.
But there are certain things that you can do that. Because there's 2 schools of thought. You come up with a product and go find an audience for it, or you build an audience, right?
Yes.
For your paintings or your pictures or just your nice words, whatever it is, your empowering words, and then you create a product for that audience.
Right.
So you come at it 2 different ways.
Yeah, and something, just be motivated by love over fear. So a business that you love.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Know your numbers, you guys. You got to know your numbers. Okay. There's some basics, and it's like, you don't have to be brilliant. You don't have, I got people with 7 years of college that speak 4 languages and they hate math. Okay. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be brilliant, but you do have to know basic math. And all of you can do basic math. You really can.
You know what it is, Deb? I think we attach money and sex. We attach so much meaning to them besides, it's so money, especially, it just has so much meaning. Like, oh, I'm embarrassed. I'm very embarrassed. My outgo exceeds my income. I don't know about this. I think I need that. And so we have shame attached to it. So
yeah, I almost think people will talk about sex before they'll talk about money.
Yeah.
Especially they don't want you to know about their money unless you're handling it. But even then, it's like they don't want to admit they don't know. And it's like the best thing you can do is take a class in accounting and learn about your numbers and learn the basics. And that's why I teach it, because I got so tired of seeing people go under and lose their companies. And the thing is, don't be afraid to say you don't know. In the brick and mortar world, a lot of people are partners, and one will handle operations, and one will handle finance. Now with online business, it's not as easy, but if you can't do the accounting, hire it out. But you have to get to the point where you're making enough money to do that too, you know? But to start out, I mean, my system that I use in my class is like, you know, it's called AAA, and I got analyze, aim, and then take action. So analyze where you're at, and this works for your mindset as well as your money, right? Analyze where you're at. What's working right now? What's not? Where are you? How are you doing financially, personally? And how much can you put towards this business thing you're going to start? You know, and then aim. What do you want to do? Are you concerned about how much you make? Are you concerned about how many people you reach? You know, because then when you aim, you go, well, and that comes back to the business that suits you. Are you better off touching 5 people and really going in deep? Or do you want to touch 5,000 and just talk at the surface level? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's your aim. What do you really want out of life? And then you got to take action. And I'll tell you right now, based on what I've learned over the last few months, and we still got a few minutes left, yeah?
Yeah, you bet.
Sometimes, and I know this is me too, I can be a perfectionist, and I've really struggled with the spirit of perfectionism, and you gotta throw that guy out the window. He has no business being in your life. You gotta take action. You gotta take action. You know, if you're not 100% sure, take action anyway, because you're never gonna be 100% sure, but when you step out and take action, things happen. God shows up. You take one baby step up, he shows up. He'll send the resources. He'll send the money. He'll send the right people to help you. So you got to take action. You got to.
Yes. And taking action in faith is so helpful. And you were talking about how much tithing has had an impact on what you're doing. Tell us about that.
So as you know, what you don't know, okay, so March, that's when the COVID-19, everything kind of went crazy, right?
Right.
The week before all the shutdowns, like March 20th or 23rd, around that area, everybody started shutting down. Some before that, some after. I moved on March 13th, 14th, 15th. I moved to a brand new place. I had my budget. I'm like, okay, I can afford this, but you know, and I have a little extra, but I'm pushing it, right? And I did, and then the world kind of collapsed. And I spent the next 3 weeks getting SBA loans. All my clients are panicking. They're like this and that. One of my clients, $10 million a year in sales, wiped out overnight. 20th, she's like, Deb, she's like, don't do any work for a month. I don't know what's happening. Right now, we're dead in the water. I'm like, okay. And that's where my secret weapon comes in. Because I pray for all my clients. I pray for them, right? And this lady is very much, you know, I won't say atheist, but maybe agnostic.
Sure.
And she and her husband run the business together. So I'm praying for them. I'm helping my other people fill out the SBA loans. Another client showed up at my door, brand new client. My CPA is like, Deb, will you help him? Will you help him? And I'm like, you know what? The odds of me getting paid by this guy aren't real high. And I knew that going in, but I busted my butt. And I gained 20 pounds. I mean, I'm pounding the M&Ms and pounding. Anyway, he got a loan. My other guy got a loan. The lady doing $10 million a year that watched her entire company wiped out. You think it's scary having one mortgage? She has 3 mortgages because we had just the previous year bought a big industrial building for her shop to be in. She started talking to people. She made connections, and I'm praying for her. She comes back 3 weeks later with a better business than before, because she made jeans and leggings. She made T-shirts and leggings for a retailer in the mall, right?
Okay.
I don't know. They were on the verge of bankruptcy before all this, so I don't know that they're going to survive. She's now making surgical masks and gowns, and her profit margin's a little bit higher. Half her workforce didn't want to come back to work because they're making good money on unemployment. Right?
Right.
Well, they are. I mean, that's sad. They came back, and she's doing better than before. I mean, she's got 2 customers, not on the verge of bankruptcy. They're doing really well. They pay on time. Her cash flow is better. Everything's better. She's like, Deborah, if you could have told me this was going to happen a month ago, I would have said you're crazy.
Wow.
I said, I'm praying for you. I said, I don't know what your belief system is, but I prayed for you. She's like, thank you. So, yeah, so she turned around. She sent the loan back. She got an SBA loan. She sent the money back to the government and said, thanks, I don't need it.
Good for her.
Yeah. Yeah. And my other guy, he's only operating, the new guy that couldn't pay me. I started tithing, right? I'm tithing 10%. I've never quite made 10%. I'm usually 5% living in Los Angeles, sometimes 8%. I never got to 10%. At the beginning of March, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm giving 10% and that's it. But you got to help me out because that's it. That takes me up to my maximum budget, right? There's nothing else left.
Wow.
Money just starts flowing in, just from all kinds of places. Just, a check in the mail, a grant. This guy that I didn't think could pay me and I thought was going to stiff me, he paid me part of it. Then he paid some more. I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, I got another loan. He had to go to 3 banks to get a loan. You have to have tenacity. You have to push forward. You can't just quit at the first no. He went to 3 banks and he got his PPP loan.
Yeah.
The personal paycheck loan, anyway, to keep your people employed. He got part of that there, but then he got his disaster loan from another bank. So he just had to keep going, but he couldn't do the numbers. I had to do the numbers for him. But yeah, all my clients right now, he's only at about 10% capacity because he's a moving company, right? Not moving now, but he's got enough money to survive for, quite a few months, but everybody else, they're thriving. I just did my attorney's books. He said, Deb, how am I doing? He was panicking, right? But I'm handling his collections and we're doing good. And he got some big clients and I'm like, you're up over last year by 100%. He's like, huh? I said, the size of your company from last year. I said, there's no COVID-19 here. There's no COVID-19 and none of my clients, they're all flourishing right now.
See, so analyze, start with where we're at. I think of it as like The Biggest Loser, where you see people get on a scale naked in their underwear in front of everybody, and it's not pretty, but they're like, this is where you're at. So analyze it, but then take aim. Like that way you can look at them and say, okay, I need this. Maybe I need to supplement somewhere else, until this is self-supporting or whatever, but taking aim and then taking action towards your numbers. And those actions, a lot of times, when we know advertising and we know click-through rates and we know conversion rates, like that is worth tweaking. But let the action include those acts of faith, like giving, tithing, praying on that faith level. So the action you take is stuff that we do in faith. This is amazing, Deb. And visualizing, it seems like you're able to hold some kind of vision for their prosperity even when they can't.
That's interesting. I never looked at it that way. But
yeah. So I think we need to surround ourselves with people that know our business enough and really have a spirit of faith for it. They're like, oh, you can get through this. You can get through this instead of maybe the people are used to or some sort of shame around that. We're back to the shame that we broke off yesterday. So This is amazing.
Don't ever be ashamed, especially now. And I remember in 2008 when the real estate market crashed, right? I had a couple that he ran his own business. She was a stay-at-home mom, had always been, she was running her own business, but it was really more of a hobby. Like she made money, and there's nothing wrong with that, but just admit that that's what it is, right? Yeah. They had 7 rental properties, and we went for a meeting at the CPA's office. And he's like, and none of the properties were making money, but they weren't designed to make money because the lady's like, she just kind of bought the property willy-nilly and didn't pay attention to the numbers. And I'm like, this is not good. She's like, well, it's a tax write-off. I'm like, okay, but even in a 40% tax bracket, you're still losing 60%. Like the point of rental properties is to make money, not to lose money. Wow. CPA's office, and my client, he runs large corporations, right? Very, very large. If I named them, you'd know who they are. And we're sitting at the CPA, and he's like, oh, just let the properties go. Just stop paying the mortgages. Yeah, it'll destroy your credit. Don't worry about it. Just let it go. Wow. And I'm like, what? And we're like, you need to go away for a little while and let us talk. So we went out in the hallway and talked. And he's like, I'm so glad you're here. He's like, what do you think? I said, hell no. I'm like, you don't walk out on a mortgage. You pay. I said, so you're underwater. You hold into it. You don't lose anything to sell. It's like you got stocks. Don't sell. You haven't lost anything till you sell. So just hang on, But yeah, it's just, but it's your focus and your mentality. You can listen to the news. You can go, oh, I'm going bankrupt. Let's go back if you need to turn your own business around. Because I know say you're in trouble right now or you have a friend in trouble. What skill set or what product or service did you have? What were you providing before, right? And how can you turn that around? Like my lady that lost the $10 million company came back 3 weeks later. She knows how to sew. She knows how to make a product. She knows fabric inside and out. She's got the equipment. She had the building and the equipment. So what do you have? Don't focus on what you don't have. Focus on what you have, right?
Yeah.
You all have skills. You all have talents. Some of you haven't developed them yet. And that, no offense, that's on you. Because if you read the fable of the I called it a fable. But
The parable.
the talents, right? How
Yeah.
one talent buried it, and the guy with was it 5 talents or 2 talents? He doubled his, and the guy with 10 talents doubled his. So, but the more you have, the more that's expected.
Exactly.
Even if you just have one talent, you know, you can be phenomenally successful with just one talent. You know,
Absolutely.
sewing process and her machinery, and she turned it around. She turned it around.
I love it. We are going to bring Angela on in a minute, but let's pray for financial breakthrough for our listeners. If anyone has ever struggled with shame or confusion about their numbers, we want you to have a sense of professionalism about you. And Deb, how can even people stay connected with you? We'll put that on the
Go to my website. I actually just posted a blog on Focus too, but go to my website, debmousseau.com, or they can email me at care@crunchthenumbers.org, all right together, care@crunchthenumbers.org. And there's a couple of freebies on my website now, but I'm going to get some more up there on time management and stuff. But if they need help with accounting and stuff, my classes are relaunching in June. I've been doing rearranging and stuff. But can I end with a real quick story? Because I want you to understand, no shame, no shame.
Okay, yes.
Time limit. One of the most interesting ladies I've ever met had 4 bankruptcies, right? 4 failed companies, 4 personal bankruptcies.
Mm-hmm.
She turned it around. Her 5th company did 20 million in 2 years. She was up to 20 million a year in just 2 years. So don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. You're going to make mistakes. The only failure is quitting or not getting started in the first place. So go. Just go. Take action and go.
Yes.
And this way, and it's not the right direction. God will correct you. The market will correct you. Just go. Just take action.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh, I want to pray. Father, I thank you so much for each one listening to this session with Deb and the grace. It's been so fun praying with her personally all year and tapping into her passion and the faith that she has to see people set free from the power of debt, the power of financial shame, the power of confusion. And I thank you that even those who are here are receiving more than information, but there's this impartation that says, yes, I love looking at my numbers. I love analyzing what's going on. I love taking aim and I love taking action. And I love partnering with people that have a grace to see it all come to pass. And so we lift them up to you, Lord. We are so grateful. Bless Deb. Continue to bless her business and those who are listening. And as we bring on Angela, Lord, we're excited for what is next. I'm going to bring her on now. Amen. And I'm going to bring Angela because I want you to meet her.
Amen. God bless everyone listening to this.
Yeah. Do you see Angela?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Hi, Gina.
She's another artist and author. And before you came on, Angela, I was telling her about your book, Finding the Gift. And Deb's like, I need that gift. I need that book.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for everything that you guys have been talking about. I've been taking notes. Good stuff.
I know. It's so fun. Oh my gosh. Well, Deb, thank you for everything. What a treasure.
Thank you so much. God bless you both. Take care.
You too. See ya.
Oh,
hey, Gina.
Oh,
how are ya?
Wonderful.
Great to see you.
I am excited, you guys, for you. We are here. If you're just joining on the second half today, we are here at the Built to Win God's Way Challenge. And you heard some of God's Way there on the financial aspect, because it included that supernatural power that Deb tapped into when she started tithing and really praying for her clients. And we do believe in that. and at the same time, right, it's supernatural. So the natural part is look at your numbers and pay attention and take aim. And Angela Howell is such an amazing friend. She is also a Nashvilleian like me. And I want to even read some, I don't want to miss any of it. But because she is a speaker and a transformation coach, she's also someone who reinvented herself after losing an award-winning sales career as a writer and an abstract artist. Her work is gorgeous. And I want you to share with us, Angela. She's written this book. Some other friends of mine were reading out of her book once at a artist meeting, and I'm like, "That's our friend Angela. Don't you know she lives across town?" It was amazing. And they're like, "No," because it's a best-selling book, Finding the Gift. So we want to hear about this ability that you have really harnessed and been able to give to others, about finding this inner peace, even through what I consider times of turmoil, because you've been through it. The very things that were meant to destroy Angela, she's learned to turn them into good, because that's what God does through us. And it's so, so special. So let's share with our audience some more of your story.
Sure. Thank you, Gina. I would love that. I appreciate that introduction.
Yeah.
Finding the gift is two things for me. It's mindfulness. So
Yeah.
it's about being present. You know, the whole title is Finding the Gift, Daily Meditations for Mindfulness. So it is about not missing what's happening in this moment because we're focused on what happened, you know, yesterday or 10 years ago, or what's going to happen, or, oh my God, what might happen. So it's not missing the gifts of the present because we're somewhere else. But it is also finding the gift in things that are feeling like anything but a gift. It's adversity, it's challenges. And I find that when we can ask the question, what is the gift in this? That's a much better question than something like, why is this happening to me? Because if we really believe Romans 8:28, which is the essence of my book, Finding the Gift, that all things happen, you know, for our good, then we have to be faithful in believing that even in the midst of challenges, there are going to be gifts. And there are certain things that happen. I always get asked this question, well, what about this really awful thing? There are some things that we will never know what the gift was on this side anyway. But it feels a whole lot better to trust there is a gift versus put on my victim hat that I'm real familiar with wearing and go throw pity parties that bring me absolutely nothing but more despair. I would much rather be looking for the gift. How is this going to shift? Oh God, I can't wait to see what you're going to do now. That's just a much better train of thought for me to have than pity parties. But trust me, I've done both. I'm human.
Oh, absolutely. Tell us, you know, what was kind of that dark season that even inspired this work in the first place?
Oh gosh, Gina, I'm grateful to say there have been many. You know, it's just been my path. I joke when I'm speaking a lot that I'm that person that's been struck by lightning 6 times, and once was good enough. But there's just been so many different things across different realms that I should be dead a couple of ways. And I know that I am here to bring hope to people. I know that's why I'm alive. You know, my path includes my parents divorced early and lots of chaos. There were big T traumas at an early age. I developed an eating disorder as a way to cope and give me an illusion of control. There was religious abuse, which led to 2 decades of being a God hater. And but all of that, and that's not all of it. There's more, you know, there was more, but it began to put me on a path of personal growth and development that ultimately restored my faith, number one. But then I continued on and had big success in the corporate world, only to find that everything I thought I wanted still didn't make me happy. So it's just been a constant journey my whole life of figuring out why I'm here, what I am called to do. Because early on I grew up really poor, and my biggest goal was to make money and be secure and buy my serenity, basically. Well, that doesn't work. I'm here to tell you. I mean, money is nice. You can buy things, but it almost amplifies the lack of happiness. Because you think, I have all this, I should be happy. And when you're still not, then you got to go in search of the real things that matter and the real sources of happiness. And of course, that's living in God's will.
Wow. Yeah. So what do we say to anyone listening who's struggled with why me? Because I agree that is such a disempowering question. One of the gals who I heard share after her daughter died, and her daughter was so filled with the Spirit, a toddler at 3 years old, she would lay hands on the sick and see them healed in their meetings. And then she got cancer and died, and her mama wanted to die. And then her mom ended up with cancer, and she's like, this is perfect because I just want to die anyway. And then she realized as she was studying the Bible that phrase, why, the root is the same as the word for chaos. Like, we'll put ourselves in chaos when we're asking why. And so what are some ways that we can shift and ask better questions?
I love what you just said. And I saw something, and I'm not going to be able to know where I can credit it, but it was something about doubt. When we doubt what's happening in our lives, we're basically doubting God's plan for our lives. And that just smacked me in the forehead. And I use that to try to catch myself when, I think like everyone else, I'm going through a season. I was already going through a season before COVID hit. So that's just kind of like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
The stuff doesn't keep happening, but as our faith grows, we have more to rely on to sustain us, to carry us through. But that why question, that's just the wrong question.
Yeah.
That is just the wrong question. How can I use this? Or how, God, are you trying to use this to grow me? How, God, are you trying to use this to better equip me to bless and help others?
Yeah.
That's just a better question, but we're human, of course. And so, I ask the why question sometimes too. I mean, I've asked it a lot. Like I said, I've got a couple of victim hats. They fit, I've worn them a lot. They fit. But it's just, it doesn't help the situation. It only adds to despair. And so just changing the question onto how is this going to help me grow? How are you using this? Or if I can't even ask that question, sometimes it's just, wow, God, I cannot wait to see what you do with this.
I can't wait to see what you do with it. I agree with that. Sometimes I'll say, you know what, I'm going to go in the future and I'm going to lay hold of some joy that I know is in the future, because I don't know when or how, but I know there's joy in the future. So I'm going to say, how can I lay hold of some joy right now? And I love, because mindfulness is all about accepting without judgment the present moment, right?
Yes.
So, well, I love it. Let's see who else. Yes, she's saying money amplifies the lack of happiness. Who am I becoming in God that I wouldn't be without this challenge? How is God growing me through this? Sometimes I'll ask, what would be the absolute opposite spirit of this? And I'll say, because I know it's the enemy that came to steal, kill, and destroy. So if I can stop resisting it, and just almost let the adversity wash over, and then say, what would the exact opposite feel like? And put myself in that opposite spirit. Do you ever do that?
I think that's an excellent, I can't say that I've ever phrased it that way, but I love what it's bringing up for me is, for my eating disorder recovery, which has been, 28 years ago, I've been, free of anorexia and bulimia. but it introduced me to the 12-step world. And the premise is, you go to these meetings, it's like AA, if most people have heard of AA, but there's an A for everything. There's DA and GA and BA.
Yeah.
If you've got an issue, there's probably a thing for it. So you go in the room, and most people are of the mindset of, wow, I thought I had problems. I think I'll leave and I'm going to keep my own problems. So when you say, thinking about the opposite of what you're seeing, or I don't know how you worded it exactly. That's what came up for me was when we amplify how it could be worse.
Yeah.
Then maybe it's not as bad as it could be. Or another thing I will choose to believe is this may feel bad, but what am I being spared from? How is this the lesser of what it could have been? And that in itself is a gift, because, sometimes we think a situation is bad, but maybe we're getting maybe we're only getting a tiny corner of what it could have been.
That's interesting. I worked with a young man in a session, a few weeks ago, and he had gone through some abuse from a former youth minister who became his really close friend, and he was only 15 at the time, and we dealt with, where the young, the younger one went on to be a missionary. He's in his 40s now, but he's like, well, where was God? And as we went back in the story, we started with this real gratitude, got into a place where he remembered just the real presence of God in such a sweet, sweet space, and where he could feel this thankfulness. He remembered, just being in a rowboat on the lake and feeling God's presence. And then he took that energy back to one of the darker moments, and he's like, wow, I never realized before I wasn't actually abused. I mean, in my mind, I'm like, where was God? This could have happened. But in reality, that didn't happen. I just thought this turned dangerous. And so where was God all along? And he said, I can't believe it. I never realized until now. He was right there, and he was sad for me. And my rebellion is what had opened those doors anyway. And he's like, wow, he kept me safe. So sometimes when we'll revisit a memory in a different energy, and then we'll ask a better question, Lord, what am I believing about this situation? And what do you have to say about this situation? Can be so healing. And like you said, approaching it with this idea that I might have seen it this way, but I was quite possibly spared something much more painful.
Yes, I had a very similar experience. I had a counselor in my master's level of counseling, just lots of years of counseling. But he asked me one time, where do you, when you look back at these situations, where do you see God in that? And I'm like, he's nowhere. I don't see him anywhere. And then it was like, well, wait a minute. But there was this teacher in 3rd grade. Oh, and then there was this coach in 5th grade, kind of took me in. Oh, and then you can list, and it's like angel. It's like connect the dots. This is angel, 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 angel. And I'm like, he was there all along. He sent angels to get me through each one of those things. God didn't create those bad things in my life, but he sure made sure that I survived them.
Yes.
And that changes everything. That was a huge part of my healings, to realize, God made sure I survived them. That's another question, that, like, back to what we said, why me? How about, why did I survive this?
Yes. I wonder if any of our viewers also have a story of I should have been dead, or, just crazy things that you've been through. And our brain is always trying to keep us safe. And so it's going to very often automatically just create the scenario to keep you safe, put you in a stress response. So when we can rewrite the story, almost as we can always write a story 2 ways, as a tragedy or a triumph.
So good. So
So
good.
what if we go back and we rewrite our story, first 5 years? I might have said this on an earlier one, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, and write the highlights and the lowlights, but then write your life as if you lived this charmed life. Just
Yeah.
think you lived a charmed life. And what'll happen?
I've got notes that I stick up on cabinets and in the bathroom and, on the mirror and stuff. And a big thing for the last several months that I've been working on is to stop the bad storytelling. What is it Charles Swindoll that says,
life
is 10% of what happens and 90% of what you make up. Anyway, I'm butchering the quote.
Yeah.
And so we're telling our stories. We're telling ourselves stories anyway. Why not make it a good story? I had someone tell me a great example where she was really frustrated with this lady. She was behind in the line at the gas pump, and it was an elderly lady that was just struggling and struggling. The person was late for a meeting, and she was just really, really frustrated. And then she decided to tell herself a story about the woman, and she said, that poor woman probably just lost her husband, and he always pumped gas for her. And this is her first time to have to come out and pump the gas. You know what? I can be late to my meeting. God bless her. I'm just going to sit here and pray for her. And everything changed. And that's just a concrete example of how we can shift our feelings like that by telling ourselves a different story, reframing what's happening. And so that's a big piece of how I am, navigating what's going on in my life right now.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, beautiful. Finding the gift lies in what we tell ourselves. In peak performance, we always say that your state is determined by 3 things at any time: what you focus on, the story you tell about it, so your self-talk, and then your body language, your physiology. Because if you notice, it's so easy to start rehearsing the story and who done us wrong and poor me, and then our physiology is like this, and our body chemistry, our DNA will actually change. Our DNA expression changes into this kind of deformity when we have the ability we think that DNA is what makes your eyes blue, or, but that's a tiny, tiny bit of your DNA. It's so much more about your DNA expression. And so your hormones are constantly being tweaked by what we think, what we tell ourselves, and our body language. So that's in our power at any given moment. So right now, as we're recording, we're in pandemic. So what are some powerful kind of ways that we can practice mindfulness right now, Angela?
Well, one brief thing that brought up for me, have you seen Amy Cuddy's TED Talk where she talks about the science behind, standing with your arms elevated for 2 minutes and how that will change, your disposition, your demeanor. And so just along the lines of what you're saying. But as far as mindfulness, a lot of people get intimidated by the word mindfulness or the word meditation. They think I need to have a 20-minute practice and sit on the floor with my legs crossed. Mindfulness is really just stopping what you're doing and noticing. An easy way is just tune into the senses. What do I see? What do I smell? What do I taste? Maybe I have a little bit of lunch left in my mouth, or coffee or tea. What do I hear? What do I feel? Like, what is this hard surface underneath my elbows? Or, what does the cushion against my leg feel like? That helps us get present. And, oh, Gina, I love getting to talk in a faith-based kind of realm. I forget where everything comes from in my mind, but I got something recently in a discussion, how getting into God's presence is the purest state of mindfulness we could ever be, because his presence is presence. Like when I get, for me, I like child's pose. If anybody's done yoga, it's basically just, down on my hands and knees. It's old fashioned prayer pose. And it's just a posture that helps me get into God's presence. For some people, worship, and I use that too, but that posture helps me get into God's presence. And I notice when I'm fully invested in being in God's presence and I'm seeking his presence, all of the things I just mentioned happened also. I'm not in yesterday. I'm not in tomorrow. I am exactly in that moment, experiencing the gifts of that moment. I've got to explore that more. I've got to write on it more. But that came to me about a week ago, just how pure God's presence is. I mean, you can't get any more mindful than being with God.
Oh, I love it. We have about 10 minutes. We can actually even just do an exercise to help everyone get present in this moment. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. I was in a class or something one time, and they said that we can change how we feel in 3 minutes. And I'm thinking, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
But if you want to take the 3 minutes, then then I would invite everybody listening to just get into a comfortable position where you're no longer fidgeting, and let everything just drop and relax. It doesn't matter if you're sitting, standing, laying down, whatever. Close your eyes. And then, and see me close my eyes automatically. And Jen, just start to listen. What do you hear? Do you hear any birds? Do you hear rain? Air conditioning? Someone chatting in another room? What do you hear? And then what do you see? Are your eyes closed? Do you see flashing, blinking lights like I sometimes do when your eyes are closed? Or are your eyes open and maybe you're staring out a window and you see leaves, or you see sky, or you see pavement? What do you see? Smell. Do you smell anything? Did you make some coffee that you can smell? Maybe lunch? Maybe you have a candle burning. Just tune into smell. And then if you are sitting or you are touching something, what does that feel like on the body parts that's touching? Or maybe you have your legs crossed. What does the skin of one leg feel like as it touches the skin of the other leg? Just notice any piece of your body that's touching either another piece of your body or some man-made object. What does it feel like? Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it furry? You have a cat in your lap? We'll have to talk later. Let's see, what have we done? Sight, sound, touch. I feel that kind of goes together. I feel like I'm forgetting one. But let your body sink into this moment. And guess what? This is so important to say. Your thoughts are going to come in because that's what they do. And when you're doing a mindfulness practice, you're going to say, thank you, I see you. I'm going to set you back on the shelf and I'll revisit with you in a minute. But for right now, I'm keeping my mind clear. I'm keeping the channel open. Does God want to speak to me right now? Or do I just want to enjoy this moment of peace and rest? Can I acknowledge that in this particular moment, everything is perfect? Everything in this moment is perfect. It's raining outside. It's not raining on me. That's pretty good. I mean, if we can really assess that in this moment, now 10 minutes later, yeah, you might draw a problem back up that you need to work on. But in this moment, everything is perfect. And give thanks. Thank you, God. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your peace. Thank you for your provision. Thank you for your resources. Thank you for you, how beautiful you are, how faithful, how steady you are in our lives. We give you all of our gratitude. Ending in gratitude is always a beautiful way to end a mindfulness session. So that's about 3 minutes. I hope you all, I mean, I didn't get to fully participate, but that incorporates good self-talk too. I mean, I just feel nurtured. I feel calm, and God is in calm. So thank you, God, for being with us in these 3 or 4 minutes. Amen.
Amen. Because it is timeless. Our spirits are seated with Christ in heavenly places. So we kind of know instinctively that God is outside of space and time, but so are we.
Mhm.
So when we can shift to that, I got to look outside and see my 90-year-old dad mowing the lawn. I'm like, oh, I'm visiting the town I grew up in and seeing my parents and my siblings. And yeah, it's so easy to miss the precious, perfect moment. And I love that perfection. I love it when my kids would pick up on my habit of looking around in a totally ordinary moment and tuning in and saying, this is a perfect moment. I love it.
Yes. Oh, that reminds me of another thing that I love to think about. We are often striving for something, especially here in this group. We're entrepreneurs, we have goals, but most of our life is spent on the way. You know, we're so we can't just celebrate the mountaintop experiences. If that's only a fraction of our life and all we're living for, we're missing it. You know, so finding the gift is extraordinary perspective in the ordinary.
Yeah.
You know, and another quick mindfulness exercise, I'm not going to walk you through it, but just if you can get a hold of a flower or a leaf and study for a few minutes the intricacies, the perfection of really anything that's God made, just for a couple of minutes, that also is I find very restorative. So, yay.
And from one artist to another, even though we both love abstract kind of work, I still do practice in my journal and stuff of very realistic drawing, because nothing forces you to look at a leaf more than contour drawing is where you're staring at the leaf itself and writing on the paper without looking off of the leaf, you know. Really make yourself study that thing. Nothing is more powerful than learning to draw it.
Yes.
But you know, don't let that intimidate you. My mom's phone never rings until, of course, come in here. But to study what's God made and your God made. So Stacy Shield said, you never know what people are going through. She loved that example you gave of making up a story that increases your compassion at any time. Because sometimes if someone's being really obnoxious, our instinct will be ugly. And then our other friend said, I say everything in this moment is just perfect all the time. Wonder if that was Joy saying that. Oh man.
Yeah, I've got a situation, a person that, you know, I have some challenges with, and someone, I was relaying, you know, some things that were said, and this person just said, what wounded her so greatly that she would act that way?
Yeah.
And that's another powerful way to shift into compassion from a place of judgment or hurt. Because when we can remember, you know, and that person that I'm referring to has been wounded greatly, and therefore, but by the grace of God go I. I mean, I have been wounded, and I've also been put on a path of healing. This person hasn't yet been able to overcome some of the things, and I'm by no means perfect. Please don't hear that. But in the way that she might be wounding others, it's only because of her own woundings. And that just helps me, you know, have more compassion as I try to continue to show up in that relationship.
Absolutely. We want to see people the way they'll be in heaven, because that's how heaven is looking at somebody, right? And I don't want to be the fool pretending to represent God down here and judging people by how they are in the earth. That's not very godly. It's like, oh, my Father in heaven's going, nope, they don't look like that to me. So Angela, how can everyone stay in touch with you?
You can find me at angelahowell.com. And I love what you all were talking about with all of the different gifts and how you weave them together, because I decided to publish my book. and I took paintings to the book launch. I'd only been doing that about a year, but something insane kept saying, take paintings to the book launch. I'm like, this is crazy. It's a book launch. And that accidentally there is no accident, of course, launched my painting career. And I thought, I just launched the speaking or the book website. And so I just tacked on the art. That's the great thing about websites. You just tack it on and it becomes a part of your entire brand. And so I incorporate, speaker, coach, abstract artist, book. This is all of me. And right now it's all under one umbrella.
Oh,
so anyway, fun. So it's
good.
all under there. And then I've got a free offering. I have a weekly meditation that comes out on Tuesday mornings. It's real brief, but you can click the box to sign up to get the free download, 10 Secrets to Finding the Gift. It's just a very short read, but that also signs you up for the subscriber only content that comes out every Tuesday morning. Yeah. And I love to connect with people. Also, Finding the Gift has a readers group on Facebook, and I'm in there at least once a day. I will respond. I will read everything, any comment, so love to have dialogue with people. I'm on this journey too. I should show my book, I suppose. I mean, God gave me the stuff for this. He opened my eyes to see the spiritual lessons that came through this. I thought it was just for me, but then he said, no, you have to share. There was some fighting, but God always wins. And so I love to hear what other people get out of what, God had me put on paper. It's hard to even claim being the author. I'm just the scribe.
That's amazing.
That's how I see it anyway, with my own human interpretation. But I would love to connect with your people.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So go get Finding the Gift and join. We'll put your links in this description as well in the unit. And I'm so thankful. And we've had good comments. You guys share the challenge with friends of yours. We've got more days to go, and these we'll move this into the unit, so we'll have units. And we absolutely want our listeners to share your takeaways, what you've learned from our speakers today, because it's not an accident. God is intending to create your breakthrough, and he's got great things in store. So with that, we're going to sign off. Angela, you can stay for a second after I say goodbye. And, we are going to catch up in the Built to Win Club, and I'll be right here in your corner. All right? Keep playing.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.